probably realised, I've been a bit harsh on this couple. Let me tell them an anecdote about sausages in Germany. That'll cheer them up. I want to meet this man.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on? Oh.
I'm good. I mean, it's early in the morning, just as day is dawning here in London. But Chris, what are you doing? Is that energy jelly? I thought it might be a coolish, but it very much looks like an energy jelly to me.
This is the good stuff, my friend. This is royal jelly, right? Royal jelly, no less. And it's basically, for those of you who can't see this filthy-looking package, it looks a bit like coolish. It's all blue, it's bright blue, and on the front it says Lipobitan, which is kind of like, do you know when you go to a convenience store in Japan, they have those energy drinks, like in bottles that look like they're medicinal drinks, and they have like the hangover cure drinks that don't actually do anything or work. So Lipobitan's one of those, and it's like 100 milligrams of caffeine, and it will mess you up. It's basically Dr. Jelly combined with that drink, basically. So it's got the caffeine highs that will see you through, kind of pep you up a bit, and the carbohydrates to get you through a good old podcast. But
I will say that like pretty much every other content creator online are obsessed with that mushroom powder that's supposed to like give you energy all day. Chris has gone for a drink that old ladies might have in the 1970s because it sounds a bit regal. It sounds like the Queen might eat it. It's got hooves. It's got horse placentas in it. It's very magical stuff. It really is.
All it needs now is a picture of the Queen on the back by royal appointment or King Charles.
By royal appointment. Royal jelly. Well, I, Chris, have created my own drink this morning. I've never tried this before, but I think it'll put more pep in my step. So it's I've just noticed there's quite a bad bit of language on that cup. But that one's nice. There's 2 little otters on it. I've got a cup of tea and a cup of coffee, and we're all having a lovely coffee tea morning.
That sounds like the sort of drink Natsuki would conjure up. I've made Natsuki coffee, but there's no coffee in it. There's just tea. What have you? Does it actually? I've never done this incredible drink. Does it actually have an effect? Does it make?
Well, I mean, the coffee certainly does. Well, let me do one. Let me do a little taste.
There's a 20-minute delay between drinking coffee and tea and having the effect, though. So
we'll find out. We'll find out around the fax machine whether I'm doing scissor kicks in the room.
Speaking of Natsuki's questionable coffee drink, I feel bad for Natsuki. I just got back from a trip in Kyoto to a place called Amano Hashidate. Have you ever heard of it? Amano Hashidate.
No, you know what? I have heard of it. But it's one of those words that it will never stick in my head because it's too long. It's got date at the end. I don't really know what that means, but they use it a lot. There's a lot of dates around, isn't there?
Date. It's got nothing to do with the Lord Date Masamune, unfortunately. But it's basically... So there's 3 scenic sites in Japan. There's Matsushima Bay, the beautiful bay with 100 islands where Connor nearly died in a sleeping bag last December. There's Miyajima Island.
I like that you just said that. He happened. He just had a crisis himself.
Should have brought a proper sleeping bag, innit? And there's Miyajima, so the beautiful island with the Itsukushima shrine in the sea and the deer that eat all your fucking personal items. And then there's a 3rd scenic site, and that is Amano Hashidate. And it's a sandbar that goes across a bay on the Sea of Japan coastline. Now, it's not a real bar. Don't get too excited. I saw your eyes light up there.
You promised me a new bar every week. You were going to open a new bar every week, and now you're just giving me a load of sand. Rubbish. What am I going to do with that?
It's our follow-up to Lost Bar, Sand Bar. You get a pint of sand with every cocktail thrown in. Sift through it. No, so Amano Hashidate... It's because it's a kilometre-long piece of sand, a strip of sand, rather, that goes out, and it's really nice. And the reason I've never gone there before is just because it's quite hard to get to. You've got to take a 2-hour train from Kyoto all the way to Amano Hashidate, and it's not... My conclusion was it's not really worth a day trip. It's more of a place to stay overnight, as we did, and sort of enjoy the local area. And it's a beautiful part of Japan, it really is. But, I don't know if it's worth a day trip, but we had a bit of a problem getting back because there's a typhoon this week and various bad weather. Like this year, there's been just like thunderstorms galore. It's like fucking Thor, like running around, striking lightning down everywhere. And the train back for Natsuki, it got delayed, meaning we got the 2-hour train from Amano Hashidate to Kyoto. Got to Kyoto, our bullet train was cancelled to Tokyo because of these storms halfway along the track. So we finally got on the train an hour late. But then Natsuki couldn't make his sort of changing trains from Tokyo to Sendai, and he got very stressed. I've never seen him so stressed and angry, and the reason is 10 a.m. today he was going to have a customer who's coming in to get her hair done for 3 hours, because Natsuki's the best in the business. He gets your hair done, and you have to dye their hair for this woman who's doing a festival tomorrow. And he was like, if I don't get there, I can't do her hair. No festival.
Festival.
Yeah, and the festival's ruined. So this one event has single-handedly ruined a festival in North Japan. And not only that, but like in Japan, you can't make up excuses for, being late. This woman put the reservation in, weeks, months ago, and to just suddenly the night before be like, oh, I can't make it. I've been dicking about on a sandbar. I did warn him.
But
I was like,
it's literally force majeure. It's literally an act of God. What, like, surely?
But that's not good enough. No, that doesn't work in Japan. Your family can die. And your house can burn down, but like that's not enough. Like,
has Natsuki just got like an assistant that can help out to do a bit of dyeing?
He's got his wife Asami, who's great, but he has a special technique that he's like mastered in the mountains of Tokyo. He's learned some, and it's only he can do it, allegedly. But anyway, I saw him really stressed. He was kicking the chair, he was moaning, he was very stressed. I felt really bad for him, to be honest.
Train. Oh no, I don't like to see Natsuki upset. I like to see him drunk, and I like to see him smoking.
Yeah, don't we all? And I think the fact he couldn't smoke for like 6 hours on the 3 train rides probably exacerbated said situation. Maybe he was just.
Is there no smoke? I know there's smoking booths on the Shinkansen, but is there one elsewhere?
Is there actually? I don't think there is.
On the long distances. Yeah, there's always a smoking room.
I don't think there was on our one. I don't think there was on our, but. Whatever the case, he was very stressed. But yeah, like you cannot make excuses up in Japan. Like when I did stuff with Ryotaro, when I used to help him out with his seminars and thing, we'd always get to the location like 45 minutes early, so you can sit in the car park, admittedly wasting time, but making sure you get there. And it just doesn't fly, right? You can't be like, oh, I'm late, my dog died, my kid got hit by a car, house burnt down. No, there's no excuses, and it's why people are so stressed, I think, in Japan. The reason everything's so reliable and everything works is people have to make those sacrifices. People can't go to sandbars the night before a big haircut. You have to...
before a big haircut.
Silly sausage.
What's wrong, darling? I've got a big haircut tomorrow.
Big haircut.
What? I think Natsuki needs to sire a young. It's sire an offspring so he can pass on this special dyeing technique to help it flourish in the future. Or basically sell it on. White label it.
Should adopt one of his fans, right? And have him work there.
I think people would love that. A little kind of... you do 2 years. It's like national service. You do 2 years with Natsuki. And you just go out into the world.
God. Lesson number 1, how to smoke a Marlboro Red cigarette. 12 milligrams of tar. Oh, God, it's disgusting cigarettes. All right, let's dive into the story of the week. I hope he made it, though. I got a phone call from 11, because he stayed overnight in Tokyo, and he had to get the 6 a.m. train that gets into Sendai about 8. Then he had to drive for 3 hours back home to Sakata, and fingers crossed he made it, but I'll get the scoop later. We'll find out. We got a story this week from Dominic, who says, Dear cherished Chris and pleasurable Pete, earlier this year, my friend and I visited Japan for the first time and had the strangest encounter with Japanese law enforcement. We were at Shinjuku Station when we discovered that my friend was missing her wallet, just 2 days into our week-long trip to Tokyo. Oh, God. We figured she must have dropped it at Itoya back in Ginza, so we decided to head back there. After a tense... Itoya is like a big shopping centre. After a tense 25-minute train ride, we asked the cashier if she had seen the wallet, and she helpfully directed us to a nearby Korban police box, warning us that police are sometimes there and sometimes not. Gambate. Good luck. Fortunately, it's quite ominous. Fortunately, we found a tall, stern officer who introduced himself as Detective Shorter. When we sounds like a TV show, Detective Shorter's on the case. When we described the wallet, he pulled it out from a drawer, much to our relief. However, it was then he began to question us. What are the contents of this wallet? Cash, credit cards, passport, driver's license. How much money is inside the wallet? About 50,000 yen. Do you have any other identification to prove this is your wallet? No, but if you open the wallet, you'll see the photo ID. Despite our pleas, Detective Shorter remained firm and even raised his voice, which startled us as we hadn't encountered a single Japanese person to ever even slightly raise their voice. Without photo ID, I cannot hand over the wallet. But my passport is literally in the wallet, I said. You can check it out yourself. Do you have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook on your phone? Can you show me your name and pictures of you? Baffled, my friend showed him her social media accounts. After scrolling through them in silence, he handed back her phone. He had her fill out several forms, and then suddenly, all smiles, he returned the wallet. As both of us are German, Detective Shorter even shared stories about his honeymoon to Munich, where he emphasised he enjoyed the local sausages and beer. The whole interaction was quite bizarre, and we were glad to have retrieved the wallet, though Detective Shorter did scare us a bit. Have either of you had this encounter with Japanese police, weird or otherwise? All the best. Dominic, who met both the good cop and the bad cop rolled into seemingly one man detective. Detective Shorter. Man. What a weird individual.
I just love that. I love that he couldn't look at the ID and then look at the person in front of him. He had to sort of see that person from different angles linked to their name on an Instagram page, which, so you could forge if you really needed to, but funny stuff, man.
I remember when our editor Dave lost or forgot his Fujifilm camera on the bullet train. It initiated a very long, 2 months to get it back, as we talked about before. And to get it back, he had to describe the contents of the bag, the colour of the bag, what it looked like inside, his favourite thing, his favourite animal, his mum's shoe size. You have to go into so much fucking detail.
Would there be photos on the phone that would probably... photos on the Fujifilm camera that would possibly dictate that... or video footage?
I think they do look at that. at that. I mean, it's obviously good that they're so thorough, right? Because otherwise you can just turn up and be like, it's my wallet, my money, give me the 50,000.
Oh, I mean, you could clean up. If you just turned up at Lost Property and went, I need a wallet. It's got £100 in, and they'd find one because everyone hands stuff in, so they must have so much stuff.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So it's... I'm glad he was thorough, and I'm glad he sort of probably realised, I've been a bit harsh on this couple. Let me tell them an anecdote about sausages in Germany. That'll cheer them up. I want to meet this man. I want to go to Ginza and find this Korban near Itoya and try and have an interaction with Detective Shorter. It's a day in the life video waiting to happen, but not as enthralling as the day in the life of a foreign tourist who came to North Japan. You'll see why I left that pause in a minute.
Yeah, you didn't mean to leave that pause. I mean, the link potentially could have been, knowing the subject of the story, speaking of German sausages, a 61-year-old Austrian man arrived in Japan. Japanese culture, the modern kind of 2024 image of the foreigner is... It's a little bit mixed. I think people are a little bit worried that with the over-tourism, there's just too many of them around. But a 61-year-old Austrian tourist has been arrested for getting up to no good, let's say, with a Japanese female acquaintance on the grounds of a shrine. They were engaging in sexual content at 11:35 in the morning in the town of Kesanuma, Miyagi Prefecture. Apparently somebody called it in, dobbed them in, that two people were having sex on the grounds of a shrine. The shrine isn't in a heavily populated area, and the act was witnessed by somebody out in the open. Now, the piece on JapanToday.com does say that it's worth noting that, especially outside of big cities, it can sometimes be kind of hard to determine where the shrine boundaries end and start. Not that excuses any behaviour outside of that, but perhaps it's not quite such a salacious story being in a place of worship. But he did have his hand and body against the shrine building, so it sounded like it was a little bit closer than it needed to be. Japan, obviously, well aware that a lot of people do have relations, let's say, outside because of the small living, the small living conditions in the city. A lot of people do engage in sexual congress in parks and stuff, but they usually do it at night or they usually go to a love hotel. The pair now face charges of disrespecting a place of worship with the woman, a Kent Sonoma resident in her 40s, already admitting guilt. And the man, on the other hand, has said he would not make a statement until he had a lawyer present, and being deemed a flight risk, he's been placed under arrest and taken into custody. So, it's a strange little story, but I guess don't have sex before 12 o'clock near a shrine in the full view of the residents of that particular town.
That's wild. That's why. There's so many questions there. I mean, I wonder
Chris,
how Kesselima.
When you feel the need, you feel the need.
Find a better location. Kesselnima's got loads of kind of little inlets and hidden bays and lovely places.
Right.
Not that I'm speaking from experience, but like
do a video on that. The inlet sex bays of Japan.
Japan's top 10 sex inlets. I think there's so many good places to hide away on the Kesselnima coastline.
Places.
You know.
Yeah.
This is the town. This is the town where we shot the Ken Watanabe documentary as well, right? This is.
Oh, you're just respecting Ken then, are you? For crying out loud. Have sex in his cafe toilets.
Imagine if Ken turned up. I was like, "What are you doing? What's going on?
What are you doing? This is a shrine."
But like, I saw this story do the rounds online. Everyone caught on the fact that all the headlines were like "foreign tourist, foreign man."
Yeah.
But what about Japanese woman? Japanese woman also did bad, and she's
luring
Japanese.
Luring him in, 20 years younger than him. Luring him in with her beauty.
She should know that Shinto shrines are sacred places, and she should have been like, oh, maybe not right here. I'm impressed the guy that was 60 years old though and doing that sort of stuff as well.
Hey, as an older man, Chris, have some respect. I'm still hot to trot. It's 6:30 in the morning. I'm good to go, mate.
Oh God! But
just try me.
But deemed a flight risk. I wonder what the punishment will be. I reckon he'll be given a fine and a slap on the wrist and a fine, and then
get it out and you slap his willy. Get naughty. You put that away. Yeah, whatever it is, it's probably not. However much fun they were having, it probably wasn't. And however much fun they were having, I mean, sex outside is always fraught with danger at the best of times. But I mean, do it at night, guys, for crying out loud, or find a love hotel, you bloody cheapskates.
Naughty Austrians, to our Austrian listeners. Yeah, this man is the
mainland
shame of
Europe,
Austria.
Baby. It's what they're like. It's mainland Europe.
The shame of Austria or the hero of Austria, you decide. But don't do that. Don't do that near a shrine. That goes without saying. Don't make me make another what not to do in Japan video. Point number 1: don't screw around literally by a shrine in the countryside of Japan. We'll be back in a moment, guys, with your stories, comments, and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What have we got from our listeners this week, Mr. Dawson?
Oh, we got a message from Tom from Bromley, Kent, a lovely part of Kent.
Oh.
Hi, Pauper Pete and Colonial Chris. Can you share the story of how you met each other? You may have mentioned it before, but as a new listener, I'm unaware and very interested. We have detailed this before a few times, but I think it bears repeating. You kind of forget that people are coming to the podcast, more and more these days, aided by the YouTube following as well. But I was a radio DJ in London's district, London Soho district, and Chris was on a bit of a world tour tear-up with Natsuki, busy destroying Natsuki's neck on a ride, and they were floating around. I was like, hey, why don't you guys come in for an interview? And a cut-down version of that made it onto my radio show that very evening.
Jesus.
Because, that's also why I interviewed Miyavi, the Japanese guitarist, once. I would just, on my own, off my own back, just grab people I liked who I knew were in London for a chat.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I forget you were like a radio DJ to some extent. Because I remember hearing you on the radio.
Do. My neighbours do. So my partner is still a radio DJ.
Now you're just the guy in the shed.
Now I'm just the guy in the shed. And they just think I'm the guy in the shed. I'm like,
talking to himself.
And they sort of go, oh, Sarah, what a cool job. What have you been up to this week? I'm like, I used to do this job. I used to do it. I stopped doing it because I was too busy with this. Unbelievable.
Do you think you your neighbours think you're a very special individual, just sitting in the shed talking to yourself loudly, having conversations about past dreams and faded glory.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why.
Because they won't hear any other voice; they'll just hear you.
Yeah, they don't know who I'm talking to. I could be talking to presidents. I could be talking to wrong-uns on the internet, and it's a bit of both for you, if I'm honest, Chris.
Hey.
Yeah, I think like it is kind of it's weird how much stock people put in like old media. Like whenever Chris, you've done like telly or radio, it feels a little bit different to just putting your own stuff out. It's weird growing up at a time where like there was only 5 channels or 20 channels or whatever in the UK. I think people give that way too much respect when you look to the listeners. I remember sort of when I used to go to like do video game stuff on radio. They used to put a lot of stock in. The PRs I would speak to would spend a lot more time trying to covet me and people who wrote for like the NME and Melody Maker and stuff. Less so Melody Maker because that died, but the NME, even though like 30,000 people read the NME every week by the time it died, so like they were coveting old world media a little bit when people were like putting out like blogs and vlogs and YouTube stuff that was like getting 300,000 people every week, and it's like they were coveting the wrong people because they had this sort of respect for this kind of like legacy media a little bit, and now everything's kind of been subverted, and legacy media don't know what to do with content creators. Content creators, I think, personally put too much stock in old school media as well. So it's kind of it's interesting. I remember like Limmy. Do you remember the Glaswegian comic Limmy? He was basically saying that when he he was talking to the BBC about his TV show and stuff. They were sort of really excited, sort of going, well, I mean, like you've got so many viewers online, like why are you bothering like doing a show with the BBC? He was like, well, I've done the online thing. I can do that at any point, but if I get myself on the BBC, I feel like it's got a bit more permanence. But then, like as you go further down the line, it doesn't really, because you can't guarantee that the BBC are going to make any of that available. But with yourself, you can just self-release and just make it available. It's just a lot more freeing.
I felt like that a lot. I've had opportunities to do stuff on TV, both in the UK and the US, and it's just not really worth my time. Like I've already got an audience of 500,000 people, whatever, that I can talk to and do stuff, and on my own terms, with my own creative freedom. And I think there's only a handful of organisations I'd say yes to. Maybe the BBC for a limited thing, probably Netflix because of the global distribution, maybe HBO. If they want to turn Natsuki the movie into a fast-paced TV series, CSI...
Him trying to get to his haircut.
CSI Yamagata, trying to get to his haircut, yeah. I would never say never, but yeah, no, you're right. I think in the old school media, you can get access to high-profile people a lot easier because it has weight, even though the numbers simply aren't there, The numbers aren't there, audience-wise.
And I guess, and the thing, I was watching like a documentary with like Louis Theroux and stuff, and he was doing, it was an old one from the 90s and stuff. He was at a wrestling company, and you get the sense that the BBC Pass does get you into places that just knocking on the door doesn't. Showing like how many listeners you've got, but being part of like a company like the BBC or ITV, it gets you into places that it wouldn't normally get you into.
I mean,
so
I've used it. In Japan, I've used that. We did a shoot. We wanted to film a place called Yanagawa, I think, in Kyushu, on Journey Across Japan. And ironically, it was an episode that never aired because I was quite sick. It was one of the final episodes of Journey Across Japan. And this town's called, like, the Venice of Japan. And there's a guy that, like, punts you down the river. And they were, like, not letting us film. And then my friend, who was, like, kind of helping to produce the series, went, it's for the BBC. And they're like, BBC, yeah, sure. And they let me on and film the boat, smooth it all over,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we did anything inherently wrong. We didn't do anything in any harm,
Completely agree.
If they'd done the homework, they could have found out I was very much not on the BBC. But yeah, like certainly in Japan, TV carries a lot more weight still than YouTube. I think people are fearful of YouTube. Just yesterday at Amano Hashidate, we had a lady see us filming something and in a shop, and she sort of got very angry at us and was like, "You can't film here. You can't." I was just literally filming like a box of souvenir biscuits with some funny English on. I was like, look at these biscuits. And she was like, oh my God, what is this? You can't film those biscuits. And I was just like, oh, fuck, come off it. It's just going to, but if it had been TV, different set of affairs.
But also, like, people are, there's just a lot of, like, media panic about foreigners and YouTubers at the moment. And
because they screw around in shrines, doing filth. Yeah. Foreigners' filth.
I'll stop effing in shrines.
I talk about how we always lament foreign tourists doing bad things. There's always a fun story somewhere. But I was on the bullet train the other day and I had a guy sitting next to me and he was just watching TikTok videos extremely loudly. Did I mention that?
No, you didn't.
Really annoying. It was me, some Japanese guy in his 50s sitting next to me. I was just watching TikTok videos really loudly and it was like just children screaming, going, and like he did it for a good sort of 15-20 minutes. I just sat there. Right. Luckily I had my Sony Wonder headphones on, so I couldn't really hear it, but whole train was like looking over at me thinking, it's probably that, it's coming from over there, it's that white guy, he's the guy. And it 100% wasn't me. And eventually a member of the staff on the train came over and was like, Simasen, Shoto, shut the fuck up with your phone. And he was like, it's just...
I forgot about everyone in the world.
It's not just foreigners doing annoying things. We've got one more question here from Gordon, who says, hello guys, question for Chris. Oh, sorry, Pete. In all your years living and working in Japan, has there been a moment that made you genuinely question your decision to remain there, in the sense of having doubts about the Abroad in Japan project? Abroad Japan project. Viable in the long term, that you're out of ideas, or that it might turn out to be a flash in the pan thing without the potential for a long-term audience? All the best, Gordon. I've definitely had my ups and downs. The closest I came was 2019, as has been well documented, when I released some documentaries that didn't do very well. I was like looking at, I was pretty close to like leaving Japan and being like, I'll come back to Japan, spend a few months of the year here and go and live somewhere else. And then COVID hit and Japan weirdly looked a lot more appealing. And then during that time, 2020, 2021, I think it's probably the strongest 2 years we've ever had on Abroad in Japan. Not only did we have the most views because everybody was indoors watching YouTube, but also I felt creatively, I was at my best. I was at my peak in some respects. So, my philosophy now is don't make those rash decisions. If I'm going to leave Japan, it'll be a slow decision. I'm not going to be like, sit next to some annoying man on a train watching TikTok videos and think, I'm out of here. I'm gonna, make the decision gently, slowly, surely. But other than that, really, it's been pretty smooth sailing for the most part. It's been pretty good, isn't it? We do have one more question, actually, from Richard, who says, howdy, boys. My partner and I are coming to Japan for 3 weeks next fall. We're going to spend 5 days hiking the Kumino Kodo in Wakayama. To keep our packs light, we're bringing few clothes. What are the options for laundry across Japan, even in the remote areas? Laundromats, common. Keep up the good work, Richard. I've never done the Kumino Kodo. Always want to do it. It's like a big mountain path through very remote regions in Wakayama, and one of the few places I've yet to explore, but I suspect there's probably not that many laundromats in the forests of Wakayama. However, laundromats are everywhere, thank God, because we relied on them on all series of Journey Across Japan, out and about. They're very important. God bless laundromats. But yeah, they are common. Don't worry. Just
every
Google.
hotel, every Airbnb will have one. I guarantee it.
Just look it up on Google. It's laundry's randori. It's kind of one of those hard words because it's spelt like Landori. Randori. I can't do it. Can't do that word. It's up there with cold brew coffee. Keep the questions, comments coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back later in the week, guys, to do it over again. But for now, have yourself a great few days, and we'll see you right back here to do it over again on the Abroad Japan podcast. Bye for now. Go do some laundry.